Live now.
What is up, y'all? It's your favorite sports chica, Carolina Teague, and this is we're on episode 55, I think 56 of League of Our Own. Welcome back. It is another Manic Monday, and I'm here at VodPod Media Studios with my guy radio husband and producer, Gylan Jackson, making sure everybody's and everything is running smoother than olive oil on a baby's behind. We got Chris in the back, the intern, new to the team, does a great job, just stays in the cut. He doesn't talk too much. We're trying to get him to warm up just a little bit. He's pretty quiet, but we gonna get him to talk a little bit more. So we're waiting on that. And if you guys see right here next to me, there's a little familiar face. If you guys are little sports radio junkies or little junk addicts like we are, from back in the day, we got Terrell Huff. Actually, not back in the day. It was actually not too long ago. Make it seem like you old, and you're really not old. Yeah,
couple years.
About a couple years back. Terrell and I and Gylan once shared the airwaves on the Ticket 760.
Oh, gosh, yes.
And
I actually invited Terrell in.
Yeah,
Yep.
on Kevin
The first time he was ever on. Same thing with you.
Yep.
Y'all can call me Daddy.
Chris Duell brought us in the building, man. Chris Duell brought us in the building. And,
Yes, Chris Duell in the house.
That was dope, man. I enjoyed it. That's how I got my little feet wet, man.
It was Chris Duell, but Gylan made the... And I want to make this clear. Gylan is the one who said, I want this person on.
Yeah.
I want this person on.
Yeah, Chris Duell gave me the opportunity.
Right.
And then I knew that on 760 that I was able to now bring people in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was my goal. And to be very frank, it was to bring black and brown people in.
And
and
that
women.
jumped off for me, though.
Right.
Because,
Yeah.
I mean, let's remember, Chris Duell was the same show where I called in, because he kind of reached out to me because of you bringing me in there. And we were talking about something wasn't even sports related. And that actually led to blue collar sports dads and other stuff I've been able to do, man. So, I don't never miss an opportunity to show my appreciation
To talk.
for
No.
that, man, 'cause other than that, but
Yeah.
you definitely opened the door for me on that one, man. I appreciate that.
Oh, listen, I don't even look at it that way, but you're welcome.
Hey,
You're welcome.
all right.
Yeah, and I think it's like crazy how like everything kind of has like a little like a trickle down effect. Oh, and shout out to everybody watching. We got Amzai watching, Dante Rose, Tim Gonzalez. Thank you guys for showing us love on the YouTube live stream. We're actually going to be transitioning to YouTube soon, but we will be putting comments up during the show. And Maximo trying to. Thank you, Maximo, for tuning in. You guys, we have a lot to get into today. Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, Colorado Buffaloes, they lost their first game of the season, and we got to talk about that. Terrell's a huge Niners fan, wearing his Niners gear.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about the Niners if you guys are into the Niners and whatnot. We're going to be also talking about a whole bunch of stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun, so let's just get into – oh, you know what else we talk about? The Bears suck.
Hey, come on, man.
And we're talking about Victor Wembanyama as well. So let's start with, the thing that I've been seeing all day on social media.
Okay.
Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, Lord.
Yes, yeah. And, Gylan is unhappy with this topic.
No, I'm unhappy with the Spurs fans that give a damn.
Hey, look.
No, hold on. Wait. No, I think we Spurs fans should give a damn because a lot of people have not missed an opportunity to tear down Victor Wembanyama for clout. This was a pure clout move that grabbed the attention of all Spurs fans, and it needs to be addressed. There was a gentleman on social media, on Twitter to be exact. His name was Main Event JP's JP_Mira Bueno. He's a sports podcaster. And he saw a video.
He's a sports podcaster?
He is a sports podcaster in the city of Houston.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
He's not a regular.
Already he done lost cool points for me because he's in the city of Houston.
He covers Houston Dynamo.
Okay.
And
what's a Dynamo?
I think it's a soccer team.
It's the soccer team.
Football.
The FC.
So he covers soccer.
He covers soccer.
And he has a comment on
basketball.
And he has a comment on basketball, absolutely. Okay. And he said, you said you could get the photo up or not, right? We don't have the photo.
No, I didn't get the photo up.
So I wish I could show y'all the photo, but it says it's a video of Victor Wembanyama at the Rue Pub in San Antonio. The Rue Pub is a bar off of 281, and it is owned by a nice gentleman there. His name slipped my damn mind right now, but the gentleman is nice. He owns the Rue Pub. And Victor Wembanyama pulled up in a cowboy hat, a big white T-shirt with his tall ass, and he walked in, and they served him a Topo Chico, and he allegedly drank lemonade. He was offered shots. He said no. I've never seen a Spurs player drink in public. I made it clear I've never seen a Spurs player drink in public. A lot of people chimed in and said, I've never been to the club where the Spurs are drinking. Actually, you know what? I'm not a snitch. Okay, I'm gonna
Hey,
start
but
with
Topo
that.
Chico is top notch. I never realized how good it was until I had one I think like
Very
maybe
true.
a month ago.
Very true.
You know,
like
Topo Chico is
Like the
good.
grapefruit one. You had a grapefruit one?
That's the one that I like
It's really
better.
good.
That's the
Yeah.
one that I like because the original
rock
one
with
is
it, yeah.
the grapefruit one is where it's at. Now, do you dress it with lime?
Nah, because when I drink them, I'm drinking them at work at my job that I won't say where I work at because I don't think they'll let me do it. But in the cafeteria at my job, they got like everything. So they got the Topo Chicos in there. So I'll usually get one sometimes. Like if on Fridays, I like to get a salad because, you know, I'm usually kind of working off of Thursday night football and I'm kind of half drowsy. So I'll get a salad so I don't eat too much and get tired at lunch. And I'll usually get a Topo Chico with it.
Yeah, so Topo Chico is really refreshing.
Yeah.
It's not my
not
personal favorite, but it's still good
Yeah.
and it represents Mexico.
Yeah. And it's the bubbles.
Yeah, the bubbles.
See, people, like bubbles are underrated because what people don't understand is them bubbles take away from the fact that you're not getting all that excess sugar. See, it's a
See,
hack.
I didn't know that.
It's a hack. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
I
hack.
don't even
That's
think
a,
about the sugar because of bubbles.
so is that why you think Wemby was drinking one then?
I think so.
Yeah.
He was preparing himself because in a couple of years when he's ready to drink, Topo Chico might do it for him. He might not have to have them drinks. I mean, just saying.
And I don't expect Wemby to drink at a bar.
Yeah, I mean any sports like it's like I can only think of like 3 Spurs in the 30 some odd years that I've been following the Spurs. I can only think of like 3 dudes that I could envision out at a bar drinking.
Danny
Like,
Green. Danny Green was always at Club
well,
Rio.
because Danny Green was at.
I
that
thought you
age.
weren't a snitch.
Well, not with the current
But
Spurs.
wait,
that
but
motherfucker
Danny
ain't
Green
playing
was
no
about
more.
that
I
life
can snitch
though.
on
Like
him.
Danny Green was about that life. He is a New York guy, so he was about that life. I get it. So yeah, I could see him. I could probably see Dennis Rodman back way back, and then
I
maybe
saw Dennis.
like,
I've seen Dennis out drinking.
yeah, and then Jack. Come on, man, Steven Jackson. Like I could see
Yep.
Steven Jackson in the club with a cup full of little, with something a little purple, little might be pink.
George Hill too. George Hill back
George
in the
Hill,
day.
yeah,
I would
okay.
see him at the club.
Okay.
But the current Spurs, I'm not going to snitch on them. Now, all these snitches came out and they said that, a lot of the Spurs drink. Okay, if they want to
Wait, you're
drink.
insinuating that you know things.
No, I don't
When
know
you say
things.
you're not gonna snitch, you're
No, I'm
insinuating
not
that
gonna
you
snitch.
know things.
No, what I'm saying is if I did see something, I'm not going to snitch.
Oh, okay.
So if I see Wemby at a bar and I see him take a shot, I'm not going to be like, I saw Wemby at the bar taking shots.
Okay.
Now, if he had a bad performance, but this is the off season. Now, this is the off season though.
Right.
And he could, if he wanted to enjoy a drink, what's the big deal? So let's get back to what this guy says. The guy JP that covers Houston Dynamo.
Why you gotta keep bringing up Houston? Go ahead.
He said, so San Antonio is okay with serving minors now. Couldn't be my city. That's embarrassing if you ask
Oh God.
Okay, hold up. I want to
Isn't
say
it-
something right quick. Houston been in their feelings ever since the draft lottery
Yeah, that's a fact.
when
That's a fact.
they said picking number 4, Houston Rockets,
Yep.
and Rimby was like. Like
Yep.
at that point, they've been in their feelings ever
Ever
since. They really
since.
been in their feelings since Manu blocked, James Harden. But the point is, they was really in their feelings, and everybody from Houston ain't had nothing nice to say ever since. Like, look at that. Come on, bruh.
Yeah,
That's just hate for the sake of
you
hate.
could tell they were really triggered because originally Houston fans were sad that they didn't get the number 1 pick to get Wemby. Now that sadness turned into anger and bitterness because Wemby's made it clear he wanted to go to San Antonio. So now they're picking him apart any chance they get.
Oh,
They're
sure.
even picking him apart because he's sitting at a bar drinking a lemonade and a Topo Chico.
This man can fold himself up into a large suitcase. Have y'all seen how flexible he is? Just keep his name out y'all mouth. Secondly, guess what, man? Tell you what. I'm going to hold out a Wemby doll. I want you to point to where Spurs fans hurt you, Houston fan. Like, stop.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous,
y'all gotta
man. It's
keep
getting out of hand.
And I'm not saying this is all of Houston, because there were Houston people that came in and they said, "Hey, you're embarrassing us. Can you please stop this?" Yeah. But this guy, JP, did this for clout. He was wrong. He was dead wrong.
Okay, so hold up. Carolina, if we know they're doing it for clout, why are we talking about him?
Because I'm going to give him the clout that he wants. I mean, I'm just speaking for the city. I'm just speaking for the city when it's like ridiculous for people to pick apart an athlete for sitting at a bar. He has no drinks in his hand. He's enjoying his time with the locals, and you're criticizing him for that. It's disgusting for people to do this, especially when you are in the media and you are covering teams. You should know that doing something like this and saying something like this is a slippery slope, and it's very dangerous if you're spreading false information. This is a blatant lie. He's not drinking. It's the state of Texas, TABC. You can be under the age of 21 and walk into an establishment with consent as long as you are not drinking alcohol. And for somebody to use their platform when they cover a sports team to spread false information about somebody when it's clear in a video he is not drinking, that is a slippery slope, and it should be addressed as such. I already told this person I didn't agree with them. The city has to, and this is very, very dangerous.
Why is it dangerous?
It's dangerous because you're spreading lies. Spreading lies isn't okay.
So how do we stop spreading lies?
We condemn them. We condemn them. I condemn you, JP, and anybody else who's making it seem like
she condemning this man. Well, at least you didn't put his government name out there. I mean, it could have been worse.
I would have put his whole government if he had it up, but he doesn't. So
because then you just playing. See, then you right there. You down in the weeds with him.
If Wemby did have a drink, how would you feel?
The biggest concern I would have, and a lot of this would depend on what you see in this situation, because let's be clear, it's timing. Like right now, the Spurs undrafted him. They trust him to be out and about all over town. I mean, he was out under I-35 at the little sports park joint they have over there. I apologize because I know there's a real, from what I read, there's a really cool dude that runs that whole setup. Mm-hmm. But he's out there shooting hoops like with Manu, like they in the city. He's a part of a long legacy, he will be a part of a long legacy of Spurs players that are out there, like in the city. Like there's cats in other sports cities that once the season is over, you don't see them. Mm-hmm. You don't see them out and about. You don't see them at the wing spot. You don't see them at, whatever the equivalent of Rue Pub is. There are a lot of cities, sports cities, where you do not see these players. Mm-hmm. Give me my check. All right, bet. I'm going back home to wherever I'm from. This is a situation where he's carrying on a long legacy, we're talking about years. Again, I've been here since '89, and it's very similar to the way it was back then. You saw the Spurs in the community. That's what this man is doing. And, and at Rue Pub on top of that, it's like he didn't pick some bougie place that he could have gone to. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm sure he's had his share of that. But he didn't pick some bougie place to go to. He went to a place where Spurs fans gather to watch games. Right, you know what I'm saying? Right. So for me, I think it's okay. I mean, you cover a soccer team, my guy. You probably, trying to get your little weight up a little bit in the social media world. I understand. I don't have a big social media presence, but I also don't, troll 19-year-old 7'5", future NBA Hall of Famer. So, hey, man, I understand. You got to do what you got to do. But come on, bro.
Yeah, and final thoughts on this. Gylan, I need your final thoughts.
I don't think much of it.
You lie.
It's just,
you're right. You're right,
listen,
though. I want to hear what you have to say.
I got you, though. He hit it with
real talk.
Yeah. He hit it with
sorry, my video's not coming up. I have some technical difficulties.
He hitting it with the Forrest Gump. That's all I've got to say.
No, it's just.
I feel you, though. I feel you with the silence. I feel you.
No, I like
it's
this.
It's just so much more in life.
Yeah, sure.
And I think when we feed these trolls, that they become bigger trolls. And his point, he took a picture, right, and he posted the picture. Now, I can find a picture of his mama on social media and post his mama's picture somewhere and make up something about his mama and say, like, your mama should have swallowed you and then make you a meme.
Hold up.
You know what I'm saying?
Wait.
Like,
Wait.
I'm just saying, like, those are the type of things you can do, and they're detrimental. And this dude, he commentates for the Dynamos. He couldn't get media clearance at the WWE match or the wrestling match where Carolina was hanging with Booker T the other day.
Can you dig it?
Like,
sucker.
And we're talking about this dude. It's kind of like when they write an article like Twitter was pissed off,
right?
And they find the comment, and then he's got like 18 replies. Carolina posted the first video of Wemby and has gotten somewhere over 8-9 million views total across all platforms. That's major. That's somebody who does something. This dude is weak. And if he's married,
so he's saying,
hold up. If he's married, if his wife stops going to the bar, he'll be divorced.
Tim Gonzalez says, Wemby wants to hang with the San Antonio people. Let him enjoy himself for the season starts.
See what that man
Yes,
just said?
I did. I heard what he said. That man.
That's like you wake up the next morning, you sober.
I think that's just a really roundabout way of saying this is beneath you, Carolina.
Yeah.
And you should,
It is.
carry on with your life.
That is what he's saying. That's exactly what he's
But
saying.
he just said it in only
In
a
a
way
really
that Guy
nice
Jackson
way.
can say.
Because when he tells me in a mean way, I can take it to heart. Right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she be getting upset.
I kind of like how you talk without us seeing your face. It feels really like Zordon.
Let that man have his
y'all-
anonymity.
I don't know if y'all ever seen Power Rangers. Yeah, say that? Anonymity.
I'm an actor. I get paid to say it.
Zordon from Power Rangers, he would talk from the sky to the Power Rangers.
You do kind of look like Zordon.
And you kind of look. Zordon was bald too.
Just like if
y'all are funny.
Okay. Christopher Summer says, honestly, can't worry about what that man said. See, y'all are right. That man. We gonna call him that man from now on. Shout out to that man for giving us our first segment. But now we got to get into some other stuff too. Amzai said he's here to hear me rant about the Bears. He wants me to pop a eye vessel or something today. Deion Sanders. And Deion Sanders, by the way, I told Gylan this back before we started the show. If you guys don't know, Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, could commit murder and Gylan Jackson would have his back. Gylan Jackson would be his defense lawyer because there is nothing that Coach Prime could do wrong in Gylan Jackson's eyes.
Cut the bull junk and give me one of them chicken wings.
Is that a fact? Or
y'all ain't gonna get that reference.
No, there's a lot that he can do wrong, right?
Ain't nobody gonna get that reference.
I am
seen
buying his
Popeyes
sunglasses.
commercial? Come on, man. What are we doing?
Oh,
What's
yo,
the reference?
he's on
Give me one
every
of them
damn
chicken
commercial
wings.
out there, which is crazy.
Look,
What'd you say?
but proceed.
He's on every commercial.
I love it.
He is on all the commercials.
I love it.
So Colorado lost.
Yes.
And I think this is Coach Prime's favorite term, hot garbage, because he said that about last time when they almost lost to Colorado State. They said the first half they played like hot garbage, and they lost in a blowout matchup against Oregon, 42-46.
42-6. Yeah.
42-6.
Right.
Sorry, 42-6.
I did have the pleasure of watching the game.
You did. Okay, what were your thoughts on the game?
I use the term loosely. You know what? First of all, it was expected.
Right.
Because
anybody who's a fan.
It was one of those situations where, and I had this conversation with my wife because she loves the whole situation. And I do too. I think it's fantastic. We could talk all day about what I really do feel like he's doing for college football because I think there's this idea that people think that college football is sort of just this, they make all this money. But you'd be surprised at how much more he can do from one week to the next. That being said, the game went about how I thought it would. I did think they would put up a little bit more points, but between the quote-unquote motivational speech that Oregon's coach gave to his team prior to the game, and between his willingness to, I don't want to say he ran up the score because I really don't think he did. I think he gave the impression he was going to run up the score because at halftime they were up like 35-0, and he gave the impression that they were just going to keep pouring it on in the second half. They didn't really do it. I think they scored one more time, and then they kind of, you could tell they somewhat took the break. They hit the brakes a little bit. But that being said, the game itself went the way I thought it would because, unfortunately, the biggest issue that Colorado has is defense. Mm-hmm. And Deion will be the first person to tell you, or excuse me, Coach Prime will be the first person to tell you that defense is the issue with that team. They don't have the kind of quote-unquote dogs that he feels like he needs on the defensive and the offensive line. But just generally speaking, the game was not a huge surprise. So, next week they'll play USC. Unfortunately, the outcome might be similar, although I think they'll probably put up more points against USC because USC's defense is about as bad. But no, it's people need to realize what Deion is doing for every city they roll into when they play an away game. And
as far as like bringing in business, bringing in sales, revenues, attention to the team.
Because
they can directly attribute over $90 million to Deion Sanders since he's been at Colorado at these games. $90 million.
And that's not counting the community in Boulder. That doesn't take into consideration. I can tell you right now, last year, College Game Day isn't anywhere near Colorado
Boulder.
State.
Yeah.
They're nowhere near.
Right.
So like they're somewhere else. They'll be at UTSA. Last year you could have told me they'd been at UTSA before they'd been at Boulder. I mean, you go 1-11, that's what happens. So there is a lot that he's bringing to the game right now when a couple of years ago people would have had you believe that the NIL was going to destroy the game. And he's embraced that. And he's added in even more of an element to it because it's not just going to be kids that are going to come there for NIL and stuff like that. They're going to come there because they're going to get exposure. And anybody that's watched college football for an extended period of time knows that one of the things, I mean, if there's 3 or 4 things that kids want when they go to these colleges to play big-time football, it's exposure. Now it's NIL money. And the funny thing is, I think a distant last is probably winning the championship. I know they'll say they all want to win a national championship, but if you've seen the way the playoff works and things like that, and it might get a little bit better when it goes to 12 teams next year, but these kids, for the most part, know it's a very small chance they're going to win a national championship under the current system. So if you can get NIL money, I mean, look at Caleb Williams. That man is making more money probably right now than he will make in his rookie year in the NFL, which is why he's debating whether he's even going to come out of school. You wouldn't have been able to keep him in school 10 years ago. So Deion is doing a lot, and I don't want to act like he gets all the credit, but he's going to, I think, he's going to end up creating this new breed of coaches. They will not all be as flashy as him. They will not all be as out in your face as him, but they will change the way that they recruit kids.
Right.
And the NCAA can admit it whether they want to, but he's going to change the way things are done. And a lot of it's going to be something that we may never even see until it's actually put in act and it's, actually happening. You're going to see a lot of coaches doing stuff they probably wouldn't have been doing 10 years ago.
Well, but can they?
Yes.
And that becomes a question because Deion is very unique in what he's doing.
Facts.
But they don't have to be him.
Now, speaking of
well,
unique,
I think they do. Because they're not a coach. They haven't played. They're not Nick Saban, So how are you going to recruit when you got one of the most electric coaches?
Well, it's the rigidity.
Out there.
It's the rigidity that these coaches have had over the last however many decades. It's like they're so rigid in the way that they recruit kids. They're so rigid in the way, in the type of kids that they go after. Well, now they're going to have to change it up. I'm not saying they got to come rolling up in there with a pair of gold sunglasses on and a cowboy hat, and a pair of J's on. Like, I'm not saying they have to do that, but they have to realize that they have to understand what these kids are interested in, and they have to step back from this whole like, well, you still hear Saban saying stuff like about the NIL, like under his breath kind of, and you still hear him, you still hear these little comments from some of these coaches about, well, it's flashy this and flashy that. That's going to go away.
Yeah, I agree.
That's going to go away. They're going to start catering to what these kids like.
Now, Coach Prime said something that I thought was powerful. He said that Oregon coaches did a good job preparing the team, Then he said people around the country will say this is what they needed to humble themselves. The loss against Colorado is what he's referring to. We weren't arrogant. We're confident people. Our confidence offends their insecurity. And that was bars to me.
Talk about that. Yes.
That was bars. I love that. And also, he did address the rumors about, the Oregon coach, Dan Lanning, had said they're fighting for clicks, we're fighting for wins. Coach Prime said, I don't say something just to say stuff for a click, despite what people would say. I've never seen Coach Prime saying stuff to get clicks. He just says things that capture people's attention. And Guyland was saying that this is the biggest story
in sports.
In
Still.
sports. My husband also says that too. This is the biggest story in sports right now. Coach Prime. And JC brought up something that this also runs across my mind too. San Antonio, because I like to bring in San Antonio sometimes. San Antonio, the Wemby effect, $500 million that Wemby brought in, the Wemby effect is low. If Coach Prime has a $90 million impact to Colorado. So who has a bit bigger impact? Because you said $90 million to Colorado, and then the Wemby effect, $500 million in San Antonio. No, it's two different sports. But when it comes to the effect across the nation, who has a bigger effect right now? I say the biggest story and the biggest person is nobody bigger than Coach Prime. Or do you think that Wemby has a more powerful effect on sports media than Coach Prime?
I will say Coach Prime because of how big college football is. I will say Coach Prime because you can, and I talked about this a few minutes ago in regards to how you bring kids into the building, right? If you can say to me, and I really could care less, I'm 47 years old. If I think it's a good idea, I think, you don't have to be 20 years old to think this is smart. But if you come to if you call my house, or you come and sit on my couch and you want to recruit me out of high school, and you say to me, we could take all the normal stuff, the obligatory stuff that college football coaches say when they go to a kid's mom's house and sit down on that couch and say, I want your son to come play with me. But when you can say, did you see that game against Colorado State? Guess who walked us out on the field? Lil Wayne. Guess who was down on the sideline? T.O. Offset. Wu-Tang. And the funny thing is, it's like these kids know who those people are, and the fact that, and a lot of people say, oh, that's superficial stuff. That doesn't mean, it does mean something, because the best coaches in college football have trouble bringing kids in sometimes because they don't relate. and this dude is relating.
Yep.
Even if it's by proxy, even if it's by, hey, these people remember me, they're artists, they're actors, singers, rappers, and they remember when I was out playing ball, and now they want to come be a part of this, even if it's just for one game.
Oh, Tim Gonzalez also said The Rock was there too.
And The Rock, come on, man. The Rock was on College Game Day. That's wild when you consider the fact that College Game Day, back when The Rock was playing college football, didn't even mention his name. Mm-hmm. That's wild, man. So, like, this is where college football, college sports really, if you talk about basketball and football, probably are the two biggest ones. This is where it is, man. And you can't be rigid and sit back and say, oh, we don't need all that. We'll come out and win, and that'll make the difference. It's not going to make the difference if you get to a point where you can't get to these kids, because social media and it's changing these kids' outlooks every day. And NIL is right there with it. I'm just saying, man.
And we got some comments in regards to who has a bigger effect, Wemby or Prime. Joel had a comment. He said Saban doesn't like the NIL deal because it doesn't benefit him. But Joel also said Wemby is a worldwide phenomenon, though. Michael Figueroa says it's Coach Prime. He's bigger because the fact that he doesn't have to play to bring in money. Wemby would have to wait till playoff time to prove himself. So that's a good point too. Coach Prime isn't even playing football.
No, we might have
bringing in 90 mil.
Right. The answer to that question between Wemby and Coach Prime might be different a year or two from now.
Right.
Yeah. So when Wemby's going to bring in an extreme amount of money.
Right.
To the NBA
Right.
as a
There's
whole.
no difference. There's
And he's brought in a lot of money to San Antonio specifically.
Yeah.
And so,
Right.
which is a team that was at the bottom of the basketball standings last season. They were at the bottom of the barrel, and you have Wemby just get drafted, and the valuation goes up $500 million for a team. So that's already big on its own when it comes to a player perspective.
Hold on. Just to correct a little bit, they're saying it could go up $500 million. We don't know until he steps on the court.
I think you could be
I
pretty
think he could do
confident
that
if you made that
plus
bet.
more. I think he
But we know what Coach Prime has done.
Right.
correct.
I feel you.
We have the facts.
We
of
know what Coach Prime
Well,
is.
and it's a continued effect with Coach Prime as well, because remember that's throughout the year. That's just to this point. We know he's brought in that money. By the end of the year, and I was saying this to you earlier, Gylan, by the end of the college football season, that number could be close to $1 billion.
Dante Rose says, Coach Prime means a lot. Seeing Wu-Tang, Cameron, and others to the game is special. Tim Gonzalez says, when Warren Sapp was there too. Benjamin Vidales also says, I think Wemby's bigger because he's international, but it seems like since the Vegas incident with Britney, Wemby's laying low. But Coach Prime wants the spotlight because dudes know he can deliver. So, Gylan, who do you think is bigger? Coach Prime, right now at this moment, Coach Prime,
The only people talking about Wemby is San Antonians. Nobody else is talking about Wemby.
Well, and people in France.
Period.
Yeah, despite the Britney incident, like as far as national headlines.
Nobody right now in this moment.
Right.
I can't go back a month.
Okay.
Right now in this moment, nobody's talking about Wemby. Nobody's talking about basketball. Everybody is talking about the Colorado Buffaloes.
Right.
Period. In the
So
story.
at the moment, yeah, I got you.
In this moment. Now, who's going to be bigger in a year? Unless Wemby takes us to the playoff and it's still good. The biggest story right now, you let the Colorado Buffaloes finish like 10-3 or, 9-4.
Yeah.
It is going to be the biggest because Dennis, what the hell? Coach Prime is doing it his way.
Sure.
He was a great player, and it looks like he's going to be a very effective coach at this moment. You can't say that about anybody else in college sports. Nobody else had the impact on the NFL and Major League Baseball that Dennis Rodman, what the hell, that Coach Prime had.
Right.
Nobody. And so we're seeing something literally that has never been done before.
Yeah, I agree.
We've seen Wemby. We've seen the Wemby story.
I think, and it's kind of like comparing apples to oranges at the end of the day.
Sure.
But it was a good question. I mean, JC had a good, it was like comparison between the two. I don't know if that's what he was trying to do.
Right.
But it's a good conversation because, like, who can bring in more what? And it's good for everybody at the end of the day, whether it's San Antonio,
Sure.
Colorado, whoever. But nothing right now is bigger than Coach Prime.
Check this out, Carolina.
Well,
60 Minutes did 2 episodes on Coach Prime within a year. That is unheard of.
Right.
at
Especially for
schools.
sports.
And that's
Two different
what Tim
schools.
Gonzalez just said that too.
2 different schools.
Yeah.
2 different schools.
Yeah.
He turned around
2
2 different programs.
Right. I mean, and I think he's like a unicorn, honestly. He's a unicorn type of athlete, and I'm glad he's getting his flowers and being recognized on a national level.
I think it's one of those situations where I think Wemby's going to have an impact that goes well beyond the United States, and I struggle to believe that Deion's impact is going to go beyond here. In America, in the United States, when it comes to college sports, we're going to be talking about Deion for however long Deion chooses to do it.
So
Wemby, we're going to be talking about him. People in
Possibly
China are going to be talking
international.
about him.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
France, Japan, everybody going to be talking about Wemby. Like, there's going to be people tuning in to NBA games in France this coming season at whatever time in the morning it is when the game is on. So
Benjamin Vidal says he disagrees. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are the biggest story right now in sports, not Coach Prime. The Swifties are in full effect now.
Not Swelsey.
Speaking of sports teams, sports fans, I want to know everybody's opinion. You guys that are watching, listening on the live stream, thank you guys for tuning in. Who is the most annoying sport, or who is the worst sports?
The most toxic.
Toxic, yeah. Who is the most toxic fan base in all of sports? And I would like for you to give your thoughts, Terrell. You're the guest. Who's the most toxic and why?
I'm going to avoid the obvious answer to this question. And I'm just going to go with Philly. They have been toxic going back decades. So I'm going to go with Philly. And my 1A will be the Cowboys, just because y'all just can't get out y'all own way. But Philly, I think, is just, when it comes to just physical violence and the things they say about opposing teams, Philly's probably the worst. Dallas Cowboy fan, y'all just trip me out because y'all just crying in the beer over like regular season losses, and it's like, y'all calm down, man. Like, it's gonna be all right. So yeah, I gotta go with Philly, man.
Okay, why did you say the Cowboys?
You're going to forget I said about Philly, right? No. So, look, I'm a Niners fan.
Well, no, people agree with you on the Philly.
Right,
yeah, people in the comments, they agree with you on Philly.
Like, I think, especially we're in Texas, Cowboy fan. I mean, come on now. I already know they probably feel the same way about Philly fan. I brought up the Cowboys just primarily because, and that's just the as a fan, that would be my choice. As a person that watches football, Philly was my choice. But as a fan of the 49ers, the Dallas Cowboys fans are toxic to me because I go back. I said it before. I'm elderly adjacent. All right. So I remember Joe Montana hitting Dwight Clark in the back of the end zone. I saw that on TV. Tape delay, by the way. So it's like, I've always disliked the Cowboys. And so it's one of those situations where when your mother is from Texas, and even though I lived in Northern California until I was like 14 years old, that never goes away. That Bay Area, loving the Niners, they've always been there. That's just always been my thing. So you are born into disliking the Cowboys. But man, I mean, when you have family and they're from Texas and you come to live here as a teenager, you understand wearing my Niners clothes to school and the kind of ridicule. Like, they just totally forgot that I was too skinny. They totally forgot I was buck-toothed. They totally forgot I couldn't get a decent fade. None of that stuff mattered. It mattered that I was wearing a 49ers
And now
jersey.
he's an actor.
Now he's an actor. Oh, and speaking of, you know what? I can kind of back up your Philly thing because one of the first teams that I ever covered in the NFL was the Buffalo Bills. I went there for Galvanize as a reporter for women covering NFL because Galvanize was created for women who don't get an opportunity to cover sports teams. So I covered the Bills, flew to Buffalo, and the PR guy, the head of PR, gave us a speech in the conference room for the Bills.
Oh, that's real.
And he said that PR is there to help the players, kind of guide them as far as the media is concerned. And he had said that his background before he went to Buffalo, because at the time there was like some rumors going around about Josh Allen at the time, and he was saying like they had to tell the players how to handle those situations. That's why us meeting with them was a good thing, so they can practice that stuff.
Sure.
But he was telling us about his background, and he said, I was in PR for Philadelphia, for Philly, for all the sports teams in Philly. I did PR for the Eagles, all the sports teams in Philly. He did PR for them.
Whew.
And he said, I can tell you right now, Philly is a PR nightmare.
I bet it is.
He said it is a PR nightmare. And if you can handle Philly, you can handle any sports team across the country. So even a man in PR said that Philadelphia is the worst team for a public relations person to want to work in.
Right.
So if that's the case, I can only imagine how toxic the players, the fan bases are.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't envision
Philly's got to be up there.
I couldn't envision going to, whether it was 76ers, whether it was Phillies, whether it was the Eagles. I couldn't envision going to a game. Like, it's like I've just heard too much and seen too much.
Yes, and Guyland has the comments up now, so he's going to put up people's comments. We're going to react
Girl, I've been struggling trying to get these
That's
damn
our producer
comments
right
up.
there. Okay, so we're starting to get comments up. We have the Who's the Most Toxic Sports fan bases on Facebook and YouTube. Guyland's going to put up your comments. So check this out. My pick, but I'm a fan, is the Raiders. That's my side chick. That's my side chick team because we did a couple weeks ago. Who's your NFL side chick? I have the Bears as my main. The side would be the Raiders because I like the Raiders. Raiders fans are psycho.
Okay.
Raiders fans, just look at the stories that come out about Raiders fans. They fight each other. They fight other fan bases. They light things on fire. They flip things over.
They fight the 49ers.
Hey, no, I was just about to bring that up. Hey, do you know about that?
No.
So several years back, it's probably close to 10 years ago, the Niners and Raiders, back when the Raiders were still in Oakland, they had a preseason game. And a fight broke out that was so bad. Yeah, a fight broke out so bad at a preseason game
Why
that
a preseason
they
game?
were not. I don't want to say they were not allowed, but the NFL basically said those two teams could not play in preseason. Or I don't even know if they played in the regular season for quite a few years, but they could not play in preseason. And it was something like 8 or 10 years. They did not play in preseason. They were purposely not scheduled because of what happened in that brawl. Like, it was crazy.
So ever since then?
They played as of recently, like they played in the regular season in the last couple of years.
Die down.
And obviously the playoffs, you can't do anything about it. They either going to play or they not.
Right.
And it had to be the Super Bowl. So like basically I think they were kind of like, well, both of them ain't going to make it to the Super Bowl. So we ain't worried about that. Maybe one of them, but not both of them. So then it was like, but the preseason was specific, and I don't know what the difference was with the preseason. They've played probably over that time frame since I remember that happened, and I think I can think of one time. Well, if you count last year, that's twice. 2 times I can count in the last 10 years. I think that they played in the regular season. They may have played once or twice, but in the preseason they were not playing because of that brawl. It was bad. I think some dude literally got severely injured.
Amzai
has the quote.
And enter a new challenger. We have a new challenge. The most toxic. Can you put that up? Toxic. The most toxic fan base. Can you put that comment back up about Amzai? Okay. Enter a new challenge. The most toxic fan base increasingly could be any fan base Colorado is playing against.
There you go.
So.
I like that.
That's a good one.
That's where it is right now.
That's a good one. Everybody's being toxic against Colorado right now.
That's where it is right now.
They're taking their shots at Colorado, and that's a good one too.
I would have to say most annoying fans.
Most toxic fans, not most annoying, because you gonna say Cowboys.
Annoying Cowboys.
Okay, toxic.
I'd have to go San Francisco. In the cheap seats.
Ain't no
in
cheap
the cheap
seats. First
seats,
of all,
y'all
ain't,
all
no,
up there.
Ain't no cheap seats in San Francisco, bro. First of all, if you ever been to Levi's, ain't no cheap seats, my guy.
So I would have to go Philly. Yeah, Philly. You always see disgusting ass Philly fans.
I mean, they threw snowballs with batteries in them as Santa Claus, bro.
Oh, God.
Come on, bro.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, dang.
Okay, now Justin Fields. People are saying you should be benched. The Bears suck. They're currently 0-3 right now. They lost to the Chiefs. Chiefs are a great team. But the Bears are now 0-3. And there doesn't seem to be anything positive to look forward to for the Chicago Bears, especially somebody like myself. I've been at my wit's end for a long time. In the past 13 games, the Chicago Bears defense has given up no less than 25 points. It's been a dumpster fire at that organization for the past week on its own. Their equipment got stolen, over $100,000 worth, out of their field. Somebody broke in, super ghetto, stole all their crap. Then Alan Williams gets fired for an undisclosed reason, their defensive coordinator, but it was very abrupt. And so there's just things happening left and right to the Chicago Bears organization that shows me that this whole entire organization is incompetent, and the fish rots at the head. It starts at the top. And people like to drag me because the Chicago Bears organization is owned by the McCaskies. It's owned by Virginia McCaskey, if you will. And George McCaskey is the head chairman, CEO, whatever the hell you want to call him. He's the guy that's running things. Basically, like he's running stuff. Virginia's just sitting back. He's running the stuff. He's the grandson of the legendary Papa Bear, who George Halas, who owned the team. And everybody on the board of directors is a McCaskey except for 2 people. So nobody seems to be making any type of changes anytime soon. And everybody's playing Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, Luke Getzey. Alan Williams has already been fired, been cut off at the head. What? But what I want to know is why the hell have they not, the McCaskeys just absolved themselves of anything football and just removed themselves from the situation as a whole? They had to hire.
Why would they do that? Why would you?
Hold on. Let me just say this. They had to hire somebody to come in as a special hiring person because they knew they couldn't do it, so they hired somebody else to do it for them, and they still got it wrong. They hired the wrong person to hire the right person.
Hold up. So you telling me that there is a team in the National Football League? The organization is run by a family.
Yes.
By an owner.
Right.
That just basically keeps his family members and everybody around him, and they don't really want to hire anybody that knows a lot about football. And why does that sound familiar?
This sounds like the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh my God, there it is.
Yeah,
you know what? This is how the NFL ownership circle of hell works. People buy a team, and then, hey, guess what? And you know what? The Niners, by the way, although they've had success recently, that business plan, they followed it too. It just so happens that we got lucky, and Jed York kind of knows how to step out of the way and let his GM and his coach and the other people that were in the organization do their thing because they know football. But therein lies the difference. You can't just rest on your laurels because this is a historic franchise. When you say Chicago Bears, people know NFL. When you say Dallas Cowboys, people know NFL. Pittsburgh Steelers, so on and so on and so on. Some organizations do it correctly and some don't. The problem is that if you just basically think, well, this is mine and I'll run it how I want to, that's just not how it always works. Sometimes you need to bring in a mind that knows football and knows how to put a team together and just step back. Step back and count your money. And that's the problem.
Sorry about
here.
the Carolina.
And the same thing happens with Dallas. You know, and people say, well, they've won 12 games for the last 2 years. Guess what? That's okay. But in the NFL, let's be realistic. Nobody's talking about you unless you're in the NFC Championship, AFC Championship every year, going to the Super Bowl and doing things of that nature. And the first thing they're going to look at if you're not consistently doing that is your leadership structure.
Right.
If you're not making the right hires as an owner, as a GM, that's going to come back to bite you. You can pick players day in and day out. You can trip over a good player. Trust me. The Niners know. Mr. Irrelevant hasn't lost a regular season game yet. You can trip over a good player. There's nothing wrong with Justin Fields. Nothing wrong. The man ran for damn near 1,200 yards last year from the quarterback position. There is nothing wrong with Justin Fields. You need to put things around him to complement his style of play. Otherwise, you shouldn't have picked him in the first round and made him your quarterback.
Right.
And there are people in the front office that are not willing to do that. And that's the problem. That's it. That's where it is with the Chicago Bears. They've got players in place. They may not have guys that everybody knows, but they've got professional football players in place. Like, these are guys that should be able to win 7 or 8 games.
Right.
Yeah.
And look, let me just say this real quick, because people are starting to turn on Justin Fields and say, I really don't trust in our quarterback. And I've heard this same song and same dance over and over again when it comes to the team that I love. They did it to Jay Cutler, even though his offensive line wasn't the greatest. They did it to Mitchell Trubisky, and he was.
No, he was trash.
And
he was trash.
Well, he was not properly developed.
Okay.
And that is the issue that we're starting to see with the Bears organization, is that they do not know how to properly develop their quarterbacks. They are the only NFL franchise that cannot produce a quarterback that has passed over 4,000 yards.
That's true. I mean, even McMahon, I think, they just leaned on the defense way back in '85. So,
No, because they were known for their defense, because they were the monsters of the Midway. They're the only team in the NFL. So that says something about the Chicago Bears as an organization as a whole, that they cannot develop their quarterbacks properly. And I'm not going to be gaslit like some people are trying to gaslight me into saying that this is a problem.
When you said it?
Huh?
Why you look at me when
No,
you
I
said
looked at the
I'm just
camera.
playing.
I looked at the camera because a lot of people try to gaslight me and they say, I don't know football. I don't know what I'm talking about because he's made a lot of plays that aren't the greatest. I understand that. But even he threw out a hint himself. And he also last week, the dumpster fire, besides all the Allen Williams getting fired and them breaking into, Justin Fields said, my goal this week is to say F it and go out there and play football how I know how to play football. That includes thinking less and just going out there and playing off my instincts rather than say so much info in my head and data in my head and clearly just going out there and playing football. He's telling everybody what the problem is without telling everybody what the problem is. But
he flat said coaching. But the other thing is
But no, he came out.
I mean, he tried to walk it back.
He walked it back.
Come on, man.
We can read between the lines.
Hey, what you said the first time, homie. The other thing is this. How much you want to bet that's the same exact thing he said last season when he went off and he was getting 100 yards running the ball every single week?
Right.
Because that didn't happen until the mid part of the season.
Yeah, he probably said I'm over it.
So all I'm saying is, I bet you that's basically where it kicked in. Like, yo, bro, this is what's winning games when we're winning.
But he winds up. But listen, it's Carolina. Put your headphones back on.
You were talking to your mom. We could hear you.
No, you could hear. The audience couldn't hear.
They could hear you. But
I know. You just keep on talking.
I can't walk and chew gum.
She can't multitask.
Yeah, I can't.
Don't throw a piece of gum in her mouth. She may fall out the chair.
I got you.
Terrell did it like a pro. I was like,
yeah, you just keep on. Exactly. Somebody talking in your ear, you just keep on
while
talking.
I'm talking. Like I be acting stuff out.
Yeah, Terrell. You could even tell. Terrell could. If you watch it right now, you could not Terrell.
Look.
Terrell nailed that because Guyley was talking. Y'all, side note, Guyley was talking to his mama the whole time. I don't know what the hell he was talking to his damn mama about. Probably about what his mama gonna cook him for dinner or some shit.
Your mama, first of all, no.
That's
what you do for your family.
I love Mama Jackson. Tell her I said hello. I should have said tell her I said hello too, but I could hear.
Listen,
anyway, what were you saying about Justin?
At some point, first of all, he's a good quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
And he needs more around him.
Right.
But at some point, as a fan, you got to let it go. Or find a new fan base. Because you're going to be miserable. It's kind of like being a Detroit Lions fan. Or now being a Dallas Cowboy fan. Every year, the Dallas Cowboy, we should just call them literally the blue ball fans. Because the Cowboys never finish.
Why you always coming with the one-liners, dog?
Why are you so Cowboys fans? You better watch.
See,
I
just want to say,
you scared. You scared of Cowboy fans.
I'm not scared.
You scared? Yes, you are. You scared of Cowboy fans. You play nice with them.
No, I don't. I'm not scared.
You play. Yes, you do. You always play nice with them.
When I put on this
I don't have
shirt,
a problem with the Cowboys.
Listen.
They never did nothing to me. They're not in my division. I don't care about the Cowboys. You don't like them just because you don't.
When I came in here with this shirt,
because I grew up in Houston.
When y'all two did and y'all saw this shirt, y'all thought I was going to be the one.
No, not at
all.
Y'all
thought I was going to be the one giving the Cowboys that work. You hear me? You hear this right here?
Not at all. Because San Francisco is professional. They know how to talk to Cowboy fans.
No, actually they don't. And let me just say this. No, because
they're not going to be slobbering all over the microphone. Cowboys. Oh, my Cowboys. Oh, my Cowboys. You know how long I get so sick of hearing San Antonio sports talk radio people talk about the damn Cowboys fans all the time. Cowboys fans are rented. You all a rented fan base. Y'all don't have a team. Your daddy didn't have a team, and your daddy's daddy didn't have a team. So y'all chose the Cowboys because somebody told y'all to. Y'all ain't got a Cowboy. You don't have a damn team. I grew up in Houston. I grew up miserable as a fan. I understand it. But San Antonio, damn. Why y'all so loyal to the Cowboys?
Because Jerry
y'all ain't even loyal to your wives.
Because Jerry is a wonderful businessman.
But let me just
he
say
ain't
this.
wonderful.
I do know that some people, what I appreciate about Bears fans is that we are not afraid to drag the hell out of our team and our organization. We will drag you through the mud, but you can't talk about our team, but we can talk about our team. And we will drag our organization through the mud, and we'll all be on the same damn page. Cowboys fans, I will say this. Cowboys fans, some of them like to stroke each other off and just say positive crap about them, even though they aren't doing good. And if you try to call the Cowboys out when they're performing poorly, then the people who like to circle jerk each other will start attacking you because you're only pointing out the obvious when the team's not doing right.
Thank you for the
visual. That is what I will say about Cowboys fans. Not all, but some. I like fans who hold their team accountable. That is what I like. And everybody's on the same page.
Cowboys fans can't even hold their ownership accountable.
I feel like the biggest issue, and it's funny because you alluded to 49ers fans being able to speak to, the Cowboy fans. First of all, a lot of that is self-preservation because I live in Texas. The other part of it is this. When I talked about my friends and family members that are Cowboy fans, I always say the same thing to them. When the team loses a game, y'all go off the deep end. You never look at what happened in the game and say to yourself, well, that's not going to happen again, or at least it's not a
no, because they know it's going to happen
problem
again.
Well, no, but that's the thing. Like what we saw yesterday. Come on, there's a situation where every team is not going to be able to exploit whatever you want to call that weakness against the run or whatever. Every team is not going to be able to exploit that. The Cowboys are probably going to win 5 out of every 6 games this season. Mm-hmm. That's just based on talent, and they actually do have a good coach. So
you put him at 15-3 this year?
What?
With how many games? 17 games, 18
games?
games?
Speaking generally, 5 out of every 6 games. You can say 4 out of 5, whatever you want to do. Bottom line is, for every game they lose, they're usually going to win 3 or 4. It's just the way they are. The talent level, the ability of the coaches. You want to talk about the decisions they make in clutch time, I get it. But the 12-5 team, well, 12-4 and then 12-5 that we've seen the last couple of years, that's not a fluke. That this core of players they have is talented, and their coaching has put them in a position. Now, you can say whatever you want about the playoffs, but my point is, this is a team that should win 3 out of every 4 games. I think I said 5 out of 6, 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5, whatever you want to say it. Bottom line is they should win about 12 to 13 games every year. And they've proved that. So let me be clear, because you talked about this earlier when you said, Niners fans know how to talk, towards Dallas Cowboy fans. That is me. If you got my wife in here, no, she got all the smoke for Cowboy fan because she grew up around it.
See, and that's my problem I have with Cowboy fans is I grew up around them. I came to San Antonio and all these Cowboys fans,
right.
And I'm like, y'all don't have a team, so y'all adopted the Cowboys.
Well, look at all the Steelers fans out here, man. There's Steelers fans everywhere.
Christopher Summer says Cowboys can't be losing to a team like they did yesterday, but Jerry doesn't care. He only cares about the money. Tim Gonzalez says the window is closing in on the Cowboys, and Joel Colon wants to call you out. He says, you think Mike McCarthy is a good coach?
I do.
Really?
I do. I think.
Really,
he's an effective coach.
The biggest issue with Mike McCarthy is that I do not think he is the chief decision maker when it comes to personnel. Obviously, you have a GM as well. But by proxy of Stephen Jones, I do not think Mike McCarthy gets final decision on who's on that team. I do not think he gets final decision. I think there are moves that he probably, and again, I'm speculating. I think there are things he probably would want to do in a draft from one year to the next over the last 3, 4, 5 years, however long he's been there. I think there are things that he probably has wanted to do player personnel wise that he's not been able to do because he's been overruled. That's just what I believe, because I just based on what I remember from him in Green Bay and the type of players, not with Aaron Rodgers notwithstanding. Just the type of players and stuff like that he usually, with his play calling, I don't think it's a perfect fit. And I think a lot of that is because he's not being given 100% control over who they bring in.
It's interesting that you say that, because my issue with Mike McCarthy was the Packers. I didn't care, because it's the Packers. But the issue with him back in the day because he was too conservative. He
Okay.
didn't run the ball enough when he should have, and he had time management issues. Now, that was back in the day. Now we're here with Cowboys. Dan Quinn has did a fantastic job
Sure.
as defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. So Dan Quinn, maybe not as a head coach, but as defensive coordinator, I think he's done a fantastic job. He makes Mike McCarthy look good, and Mike McCarthy has made some really good decisions. However, he has made not so good decisions because even in this past game, the loss against the Cardinals that they just had, he had a decision that he could have made. They were on 4th and 4. You could either kick the field goal and draw within 6 points, or you could go for 6 to potentially tie the game with a 2-point conversion. He decided to go for it, and Dak Prescott had an incomplete pass, and Cowboys had a turnover on downs on the
Sure.
fourth quarter, and so they were upset with his decision making at the time. But you're not going to make everybody happy with your decision.
Well, it's been like that all year, though. People complained about the Jets game and how they were only getting field goals at situations where people felt they should be getting touchdowns.
Or go for it, right?
Well, not even
Terrell.
just necessarily fourth downs, like just in general. Like, okay, you're in the red zone. There's going to be situations where you need to take some chances, and a lot of people felt like he was just being too conservative. So I understand that sentiment, but we're also 3 games into the season. We've all seen coaches evolve in regards to
it's only 3 games.
Based on what they see out of players, based on scenarios. They look at tape, and then next thing you know, halfway through the season, it feels like we're complaining that they keep going for it on 4th down. Why you keep going for it? You're on the 30, you're on your own 45-yard line. Why are you going for it? So
Joel brings up a good point. What, was it Joel?
Yeah, Joel.
No, it was Tim.
Well, everybody's bringing up good points, actually.
Right.
Yeah, everybody.
Tim Gonzalez says, and this is why I have a problem with San Antonio Cowboy fans. Because if it wasn't for Jerry Jones, more than likely San Antonio would have an NFL team.
It's possible, yes.
And the fact that Jerry Jones is cock blocking.
People don't believe that, though.
Because people are stupid.
Okay.
No, and they don't read.
Yeah, I do think that's a firm possibility. It's Texas. Period. It's one of the larger cities in Texas.
When you look at the map of like how they can where their fan base is, the majority of Cowboys is all of South Texas.
Well, sure. They don't have a choice.
And then the Houston
Mexicans
Texans
are loyal.
Just Houston Texans. Houston.
See, here
That's
you
it.
go. They don't have a choice.
No, Mexicans are loyal. Mexicans are extremely loyal.
We are loyal. Like, I am so loyal to the Chicago Bears.
Sure.
For what? For what?
Because you're
And I'm Mexican.
Well,
because I'm fucking Mexican.
It could just be that's what
That's
you
a
grew
true
up with.
stereotype. Mexicans are loyal
Familiarity
as
is
shit.
a big deal. Like, I mean, think about it like this. I'm not a Golden State Warriors fan. I grew up in the Bay Area. They were there. They were there at one of the most iconic times for that franchise. Run TMC. I was in middle school. Run TMC was it. But I mean, that was crazy. So, but I never became a fan. I could have been a Lakers fan. Yeah, I wasn't. I could have been a Clippers fan, although that would have been depressing. But I wasn't.
So what were you a fan?
I moved to San Antonio, and it felt like I had a closer proximity to the Spurs when I went to the first Spurs game I ever went to. It just felt intimate. Yeah. It felt like they were part of the community more so than anything I saw in Northern California with any of the teams there. I used to go to Oakland A's. We used to sneak into Oakland A's games. Like, I mean, that was – and I'm still a fan to this day, even though I don't get to watch as much baseball as I like, because I remember going to the parking lot at the Oakland Coliseum to go get Ricky Henderson's autograph when he used to drive a gold 300ZX. That was the most gaudy car I've ever seen in my life. And he had a Jerry curl that would, like, literally – I mean, it was crazy. But, like, he was Deion Sanders before Deion Sanders. Put it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember all that stuff. So I understand the loyalty to that because there's a comfort level. You remember things from your childhood or from just being a young person and seeing things, whether you went to
or
a
being
game or
beat by your
did.
parents when the Cowboys lose.
Come on.
And then like you got this toxic relationship.
You're doing too much, my guy.
You got a toxic relationship with your Cowboys.
Yeah, I have a trauma bond. My good memories are sadly turning into trauma bonds with the Bears.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a cycle of depression.
Because we process it differently as adults.
Okay, quick hit. Your team, the San Francisco 49ers.
Right.
3-0.
Mhm.
They were number 1 last week in the NFL power rankings.
Okay.
They are still number 1 in the NFL power rankings.
Earned it.
Do you think they have the potential to be at the top of the NFC conference?
Yes.
Let's see their upcoming schedule. I'm going to read you their upcoming schedule. They got the Cardinals coming up October 1st. That's their next game.
Always a tougher game than you would think.
Yep. They're going up against the Cowboys after that.
In
the
San
Cleveland
Francisco.
Browns,
Or
the
in Santa Clara.
Vikings,
Mhm.
the Bengals, the Jags, the Buccaneers, the Seahawks, and the Eagles. Then they go back to the Seahawks, Cardinals, 49ers, Washington Commanders. It seems like a pretty...
That's a 13-4 team all day.
Yeah.
That's a 13-4 team all day.
That seems like they could get past that.
Yeah, no, I think the Cowboys game is going to be incredibly tough. We always have trouble with Seattle in Seattle. I'm not worried about LA in the least because we go to their stadium and we fill up their stadium with our fans. So I ain't really worried about LA. And, you know, I look at those games that I just mentioned, and those are really – and Philly because they got to play Philly, I think, in late November, early December, something like that. So off top of my head, those are the 4 games that I feel like those are 4 games that I'm really worried about. Mm-hmm. I don't care what anybody's saying about the Cowboys. As a Niners fan, I can still sit here and tell you the Cowboys can go into San Francisco and they can win that game. I don't think they will, but they can, especially because they get up for the 49ers. Mm-hmm. They may not want to admit it, but they get up for the 49ers, especially when you consider the fact that they got their asses shuffled out of the playoffs for 2 years in a row at home and away by the 49ers. So trust me, they'll be up for that game, and it really won't make a difference. Any other injuries or nothing, whatever it is, they're going to be up for that game. So that's that's a game the Niners definitely are going to have trouble in. And then Philly, like I mentioned, in that Seattle game. And there's going to be one other game in there where they're just not paying attention or they're not locked in and they could lose. So, yeah, I see that as a 13-4 team all day. And the NFC Championship is definitely a possibility.
Now, when I look at the current standings for all of the NFL right now, I think the 49ers, they're number 1 for a reason. Mm-hmm. They can do that because they're a very strong team. They're 3-0. NFC, when I look at it, is kind of like, I feel like it's the weaker of the two between AFC and NFC when it comes to even quarterbacks. Right. I would have thought that the Eagles would give a run for the money for the NFC for the 49ers.
And they still may, yeah.
They still may. However, I mean, even their defense is missing 3 key players. Yeah. And that might be a potential issue depending on how the rest of the season fares. But the 49ers look really strong to possibly at least meet the NFC conference champion. Just the way things go. I mean, I know this is early predictions. We're in week 3. But right now they're looking good and they're number 1 for a reason. I feel like if any team out of the whole entire NFL could give them a run for their money, it's going to be the Dolphins. The Dolphins.
Just real quick,
they
Eagles
really
up right now,
they
25-3.
Busted the Broncos' ass.
Yeah.
70-20. And oh, by the way, side note, Broncos got 20 points. And the Chicago Bears play in Denver. And they are the underdog by 3 points against a Broncos team that lost 50 points to the Dolphins. Can you believe that?
Let me tell you something. That line is because of dysfunction in Chicago.
Yeah, for sure.
If we're looking at second half of the season, last season, Chicago, there ain't no way the line looks like that. So let's just get that out of the way. The other thing I'll say, yes, I agree with you in regards to Miami. I do think they're going to have to get around Kansas City because I think in the end, Kansas City is going to be there. It's just a matter of whether or not Miami gets over the hump and is able to knock them off. And I think their ability to run the ball, which they showed a lot of yesterday, I think more so than most people realize, is probably going to be something that's really going to be key for them going up against a team like going up against a Kansas City. I will say this about the Niners in regards to just the NFC Championship. They did 2 things that they needed to do in the offseason. They shored up their secondary when they got the kid out of Atlanta. I apologize. I forget his name right now. But basically, they got a guy playing in the nickel. He was a starter in Atlanta last year, and he showed up big in the second game. He was pretty good last game too. And then Hargrave from Philly that they picked up in free agency, gave him $80 million, and he's every bit the part. So They added to the defensive line. Drake Jackson is in his second season, and he got 3 sacks in the first game of the year, so he's legit, and he's also going to make it to where they can't double team Nick Bosa. So you look at that. Frank, I want to be very clear. Fred Warner is the best middle linebacker in the league. Mm-hmm. Period. I'll quote another man when I say he's a heat-seeking missile. Ain't no middle linebacker in the league better than him. It's not even close. He's got bad intentions. Mm-hmm. And I will, for my wife, I will refer to him by his government name, Federico. That is literally his name, Federico Warner. He's half Mexican. It's dope. Anyhow, that being said, they shored up the areas they needed to on defense. Offensively, I don't need to name names because I think y'all already know who's on that offense, so that's not a problem. Right. And period.
So, Terrell, are the 49ers better than the Cowboys right now?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know why you asked the question. Yes.
What kind of question is that?
Listen.
Absolutely.
You will hear me. Yes. You will hear me always hold out an olive branch to Cowboy fan, and I will always be respectful. But be clear. Don't ever ask me who's better, because I don't play that. I don't play that. I'm going to tell you, the Niners are better. Well, yes, I do think the Cowboys can go to San Francisco, and I think they could possibly even pull out a win. But at the end of it all, when the playoffs come around, you don't want to see the San Francisco 49ers, because we already know you didn't get that much better. You think you got that much better, but you didn't get that much better.
I feel like also, too, when it comes to playoff experience, they're a lot more deep-rooted when it comes to that, too.
Because you've seen it.
Right, because you've seen
a Super Bowl and lost.
Yeah. Benjamin Vidal says usually those divisional matchups creep up on on us Niners. I guess he's a Niner, too. Yeah. Seattle somehow finds a way to beat us all the time, which
at least once.
I try to watch as much NFL games as I like. Guidance says I shouldn't do that because it takes it too long.
No, stop.
No, wait.
I never have said that.
You have said stop watching the entirety of all games. Yes.
No. My point is you try to do too much shit.
Okay.
You don't have to watch every damn game.
Hey, we watch Red Zone.
So what you were,
you're right.
What you were trying to do
wrong.
as a sports commentator is not what the pros do that are getting paid millions of dollars.
Right.
They are not watching every single game. They even say, they were talking about basketball and Shaq. They say, Kenny Smith say Shaq be DJing and playing around.
Yeah. Well,
Kenny Smith is watching one game. They don't even know what Ernie's doing.
Yeah.
And Charles Barkley is doing like 10 or 15 different things.
Because they have rings and they have experience. And when I lack in that, I got to watch the games and bring up my knowledge. Wait, the reason why I said that is because I will make it a point to watch the Niners versus the Seahawks.
Sure.
Because aside from Bears and Packers, Niners and Seahawks
battle
is fun to watch.
Right. It's huge. It doesn't matter who's playing. It's always, at least the last 10 years, it's always like high drama. It just is. You literally, it doesn't matter if it's Russell Wilson. It doesn't matter if it's Geno Smith. Doesn't matter if it's whichever one of the Hasselbecks that used to be the quarterback there, Tim, Matt, I don't remember. I think it was Matt. It doesn't matter. I take you all the way back to Steve. Dang, I forgot his name. That's horrible. He's one of the best receivers in history. That being said, I can take you all the way back to then. When I don't even think the Seahawks and the Niners were in the same division. It didn't matter. Like it's just, they were an AFC team. It's always been like that, man. And so, I will say this based on what Garland was just talking about. You have to find your happy place when you're talking about, like, whether it's the NFL, NBA, there's too many games. So you have to find that happy place, and there's always a story. Because you ever notice that? Like, when we watch ESPN, it's always something. They'll give you highlights, and they'll tell you, oh, well, this happened in this game, that happened in that game. But it'll be like 4 or 5 games that they'll really key in on. And they'll be like, oh, well, this happened here. Because like you just talked about, it's storyline.
Right.
San Francisco, Seattle is always a storyline. Pittsburgh,
last
Cleveland.
night, Pittsburgh and the Raiders.
Pittsburgh
and the Raiders. Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Baltimore and Cleveland. Those are always storylines. And that's really what a lot of times they focus on, because it's like, I can talk about that, and that's going to give people are going to have interest in that all
or
across
like
the board.
Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly.
Like all those things. Okay.
Player to player.
Yeah, never beating the Chiefs, except for like recently.
Yeah.
So Benjamin Vidal says, who would Coach Prime celebrate more, the next Cowboys Super Bowl championship or the next Niners Super Bowl championship?
I don't think he would celebrate either. I'm dead serious. I don't think he would celebrate either. I think Dion wants to celebrate the Colorado Buffaloes.
Yeah, I think that's like
I'm not trying to
not
skate on the question. I'm dead serious. I don't think he would celebrate either.
Not publicly.
Yeah.
He'd probably be like, I'm focused on Colorado.
I mean, he might.
I think he'd give a sound bite. He'd give a sound bite.
I mean, if somebody asked him, I'm sure he would comment.
Who's going to win a ring first? Would it be the Niners or would it be the Cowboys?
Niners. They have a better
organization,
overall organizational leadership in place. Like anything can happen. But if you're
like
just
everybody
basing
has
it on
ego.
what you see.
Yeah, everybody has ego and pride.
From the top down, if you look at what you see, you would expect that the Niners would have the best chance right now between the two teams.
Well, you guys, that wraps up League of Our Own tonight. We got to make this quick, but man, Terrell, it has been a long time since we've shared the microphone with you, and what a treat to have somebody who is a football fan, a diehard Niners fan.
Yes.
Something different is what we wanted, because I always talk about the Bears. He's always talking crap about the Cowboys. Having a Niners fan be objective and talk about the Niners. Somebody who's been on sports.
You weren't objective.
I was. Hey, no. If you ask me a direct question, I'm gonna answer.
He was being like, he was in the middle.
I'm gonna keep it real.
Play back when I said who was better. That's all I gotta do. Just watch his eyes. Watch his eyes.
Why do I need
look,
to know?
Look at his eyes. Look at his eyes right there.
Hey, wait. First of all, I even said the Cowboys have a chance to go to San Francisco and possibly win that game. But if you ask me who's better,
yes,
over the course of a season with the ability to possibly win a championship, Niners. Period.
That's why I asked that question, Carolina.
I really want to thank everybody who watched the show today, because it is Monday Night Football.
Had a great time.
It's a tough time to have a show, but thank you everybody who tuned in. And honestly, like, this show has a trickle down effect. So everybody who watched today, thank you so much. Like, people watch it and rewatch it, over and over again. For the rest of the week, we're going to be posting out clips. Terrell, thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, this is awesome. You did a great job for somebody who hasn't done sports radio.
It's been a minute. I'm a little rusty.
2 years.
It's been a minute. I know, a little rusty.
A little rusty.
No,
Terrell's great, man.
No. I enjoyed
rusty,
it.
man.
I enjoyed it.
He said
I appreciate you letting me get back out here. And it was fun. And just talking sports, man. I mean, it's something everybody can get together and do, and it kind of doesn't matter what fan base you with, except for the Cowboys. So
Sports radio alumni Terrell Huff in the building.
Carolina, before we go, let me throw something real quick.
Okay.
Do y'all know who Trey Turner is?
He about to throw a grenade
with the Phillies?
Yeah.
Okay. Trey Turner was having a horrible time. They were booing him, dogging him. And one of the major sports hosts, not sports hosts, just a super fan, said, "Let's stop booing Trey Turner. Today we're going to cheer for Trey Turner." He hit an RBI single to break out of a slump of 0-17. Then he started hitting home run. He stopped his fielding errors because they started cheering for him. And the reason I bring that up is because Amzai just posted something. And this is indirectly. The Cowboys got some bad juju about them. And I think we have to acknowledge that they have some bad juju about them. And Amzai said, if Jerry Jones atoned for that picture, the one that he was looking at, and looking at little black girls going to schools, maybe the NFL guys would allow the Cowboys to win another Super Bowl. Think about how Jerry Jones treated a lot of the issues around social justice. There is something that's not right there. And I remember Dak Prescott coming out of college and being this dynamic runner, passer. He was amazing. And it's kind of like he has been, for lack of a better term and a controversial term, he has been neutered. He is not the same player. And I have seen Dak Prescott. He's a good social person and he's doing stuff in Salvation Army, but he feels like he sold his soul to the devil to be where he is right now. There's something missing in that man. There's missing in his soul, is missing in his eyes. And I think it's the Jerry Jones effect on that team.
I could say the same thing for the Bears. Ever since they fired Lovie Smith, their black coach, they have not had a good hire since then, and they were a above 500 team at the time.
Yeah.
And George McCaskey came into power, and somebody did a whole deep dive on that, and it's a great article since you like to read, Guylan. Allegedly. I'm just kidding. You like to read. There's a great article on it, but, there are things that it's called karma. I'm a firm believer, and I know you don't believe in it, Guylan, but when you do.
You always say that. I do believe in karma.
You do.
She always says, and Guylan, you don't do this. Guylan, you don't read.
Guylan. You don't. When you do bad things to other people, eventually it's going to come back to you.
I believe in karma.
I
believe in karma. I don't think there's good karma or bad karma. There's karma, because if you believe in bad karma, then you're going to get bad karma back to you. It's just karma.
I believe in
Let me
just
say
karma,
this right quick. Brian Flores wasn't lying.
Yo,
look him up. And he's still fighting that, by the way. Brian Flores wasn't lying, and he's coaching. I think he's a defensive coordinator in Pittsburgh, right?
So where's the Dolphins' karma then?
But here's my point. Brian Flores wasn't lying. There is a writer right now that, if I'm not mistaken, is suing, I think, the NFL.
Recently, yes.
Because he was sort of swept under the rug because he insisted for a couple of years straight on asking Roger Goodell about social issues when it came to, some black writers and things like that. And Jerry Jones was right at the center of that.
Center of what?
Because aides and people around him heard him say something, and they reported it to this gentleman, and I apologize because I don't have his name right now off the top of my head. But he is a well-known writer for the NFL, sports writer, award-winning and very respected. Mm-hmm. And he's reported.
Jim Trotter.
Huh?
Jim Trotter.
Yes. And Mr. Trotter is not somebody that you say, well, his sources are kind of questionable. No.
Exactly.
And then on top of that, you have to take into consideration some of the other things, like we talked about the picture from Arkansas, of Jerry Jones when he's a 15-year-old, all these things. And again, this all comes back to, we want you in the room, black writers, coaches, to a certain extent, but it's always swept under the rug when somebody talks about it. And we briefly glossed over this earlier with the Bears ownership. These owners have more pull than people are willing to admit. And when somebody brings it up, it's like Jerry Jones. Well, I'll tell you what. If a black person wants to own an NFL team, I'll carry him on my back across Texas. We ain't asking you to do that, my guy. We're not asking you to do that.
Right.
We ask you to stop blocking it. Because let's be clear, okay? Magic Johnson, I know he's in on Washington, but I know there's been some past groups like involving Diddy and
Jay-Z.
Jay. Mm-hmm. I know there's been some groups that, for one reason or another, didn't pass the muster, and I know it wasn't because they didn't have no money. We're not saying that about Jay. We're not saying that about Diddy.
And Terrell. So we're even talking about the executives that are part of these teams.
That's all I'm saying.
And I think the crazy part is, and I didn't mean to make this black or white or race,
but
it is the bad.
We can talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about.
No, but it's the bad juju. It's the bad juju around how you do business, on how you say things, on how you act. And I just think the Cowboys, they burned all their juju during the Michael Irvin years and Traegman years. The stuff that they were getting away with, you can't continue living that way. It's bad juju.
Look at the era they were in, man.
Oh, I know, dude.
I really just and I apologize because I'm not on that train. That's just not me. I just believe bad decisions are constantly being made, and egos are the biggest reason why. Come on. This man fired Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
In the midst of winning multiple championships.
Because of ego.
Because I gotta be the one. I gotta be the one that made all the decisions. You can literally sit back and say, I let Jimmy rock, and look what we got now. This fan base is the way it is because Jerry let Jimmy rock for at least a handful of years, and they got it done. I remember when they were 1-15. That was when I first moved here. And I remember what changed when they started whooping my Niners' ass in the NFC Championship and in the playoffs for 2, 3, 4 years in a row. I remember all of that. And that was a time where he was somewhat willing to sit back and let other people do what they know how to do. Mm-hmm. I don't know what changed, but that's where your bad juju is. Okay. Yeah. I'm maybe I'm just a little bit more analytical about it, but bottom line is that's where your bad juju is. You started with a bad business decision, and you eventually got to a point where you said, well, we ain't winning championships, but these jerseys sure are selling. I sure am putting on a lot of concerts.
And we can actually go back to Tom Landry.
Sure.
If we really want to talk like stockpiling the bad
People
juju.
still salty about Tom Landry getting fired.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
People still salty. Ask Chris Duell. He's still butthurt over that. That man talk about that on the radio at least once a week. That man, I bet you got he probably burning some candles right now in front of a picture of Tom Landry.
Yeah.
People still feeling that, man. I didn't know the dude from Adam. I wasn't a fan at that time, but I remember seeing him on the sideline. I told y'all, tape delay, the catch, the first one. Mm-hmm. I seen all the catches.
Okay.
In San Francisco.
We running long.
All right.
We gotta wrap it up.
That's what I do.
But we gotta wrap it up. But I will. Actually, I am gonna look into this racial discrimination. This is such an incredible story. I didn't even know about this. So very, very good words and very, very good show. Thank you so much, Terrell, for coming on.
You need
Always
more
a pleasure.
black friends.
See, you need to stop.
Yeah, you're right. I do need more black friends.
Say that
I
on the
didn't
air.
know about this shit. I need more black friends that watch sports.
What are you saying?
Because y'all knew about this shit. Y'all need to tell me about it. Ain't nobody tag me.
Do you realize I'm an insurance adjuster? I got time for this stuff.
I know.
No, I really
I'm just
don't
looking
got
at
time.
rent cars all day.
I ain't got no damn time. Terrell ain't got no damn time. Gylan ain't got no damn time. We ain't got no time. Anyways, we're out of time. This is wrap. Thank you guys
Peace.
for tuning in to League of Our Own. See you next week. Bye.